What is going on, Sztanyo? Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday evening and a great weekend. The weather is beautiful here in the Cincinnati area. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope if you haven't yet, call your mom, tell her you love her, tell her she's the best. I'm in here in the studio. We're going to be talking about the real estate market here in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. We're doing it for you. We had the celebration for my wife. We had the celebration for my mom. So don't fret. I got the okay to come in here and make sure we can talk about real estate because I know you guys want to know about all the info, what's going on with the home prices, why they keep going up, what's going on in the spring real estate market here in Cincinnati. But I hope you're having a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. As always, when you jump into the chat here, let us know where you're watching from. This is one of my favorite parts of the week because I get to interact with you, answer any questions you might have. Let's talk about what's going on locally in Cincinnati. And hang out for a little bit. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome in. Happy to have you. Let's talk some real estate. Before we get into that, we'll talk about our weekend. Our life's a little crazy at the Sztanyo household right now. Got to celebrate Mother's Day with my mom because I got to move back into my mom's house this week again for the who knows how many times. We had a crazy week at the Sztanyo household. We're coming down the home stretch of a large home addition. And this week, our builders, our contractors were tying into the old house. So most of it has kind of been wrapped around of our house. But this week we had to kind of scoot everything around. We had to do a lot of moving things around because we had to put up tarps for demo and making sure dust wasn't getting over everything, or at least do our best at that. And so we packed up, my wife and I packed up, and our 5 kids moved back into my parents' house yet again. But we are so thankful for them that we have a place locally. This is one of the best things about living in the Cincinnati area. Hopefully a lot of you people have experienced this as well, as you have parents nearby, you have family nearby where you can go and crash. And that's what we're doing. So the team Sztanyo, the 7 of us are crashing at my parents' house for the week, for 2 weeks. Don't know exactly how long, but they're there to have us, which is fantastic. And this weekend was a blast. We, let's pop over here, show you a little bit about what our weekend looked like. But we went over to Rabbit Hash in Boone County. If you've never been there, this place is truly something to experience. It's this little place right on the Ohio River in kind of southwest Boone County. It's a lot hashier than I remember it as a kid. I definitely remember it being kind of the old country store. Now it is like pure biker hangout. A lot of bikers go down there in Boone County, drive on Lower River Road there and throughout Boone County. But there's my 5. There's the crew. We went down there, went to the general store. But we had bikers all around. It was loaded. It looked like just a great time hanging out. All these guys having a drink or two, hanging out by the river down in Rabbit Hash. There's my 5-year-old. He was kind of excited to hang out, wanted to go down to the general store there. We went into the general store, and don't let this picture fool you, because he was having a blast. All smiles here, but when it came down to business and when it came down to him obeying us, didn't go so well. And so he had to get a consequence for that. And that consequence ended up everybody else got to have ice cream, but my 5-year-old did not get to have ice cream. So this country store, super cool though. If you've never been, highly recommend it. All kinds of fun treats and knickknacks and old-timey stuff. And then also like things like Rabbit Hash is the center of the universe. So some interesting characters down there as well. But we had a good time down there this weekend with the crew, hanging out. Mother's Day weekend. This family is growing up fast. We had a good time down there. So highly recommend. Look at that. Look at my crew growing up. They got their candy cigarettes and they were smoking them with the bikers. They thought they were pretty cool. So that's my 12-year-old and 7-year-old there, having a good time. So, all right, let's get into this market and what's going on. I want to actually go over here first and wanted to show you a quick search what's out there on the market. I'm doing a search right now in Northern Kentucky. Let's take a look here. There's 92 pending homes. This is I just did a search between $375,000 and $450,000 for single family homes. So there's 100 houses on the market and there's 92 houses pending. I want to just look at these pendings here really quick. Take a look at this list just to give you guys an idea. We're going to look at the Cincinnati side as well, but what's happening on the market, because there may be places around the country where you are seeing days on market lasting longer and home prices coming down. We're not seeing that in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky market. These are all pending properties, 92 of them. 2 days on market, 6, 3, 6, 0, 5, 0, 1, 1, 1, 12, 11. So, if a home's not right in the neighborhood, it might last a little longer. 4 days on the market, 0 days on the market, 1. Now, look, these are all the pending homes. And so, they might be, the ones that are active might be on the market a little bit longer. But just so you know, if you're looking to get under contract, I'm going to keep scrolling down here. 1 day on the market, 0, 8, 0. Here's one that was 45 days on the market. 3, 32, 12, 3, 1, 1, 0, 3, 21. Okay, so you're kind of getting the point. This is in that 375 to 450 range, and I see a lot of people buying in this range. Might be a little high probably for a first-time home buyer, but maybe second-time home buyers are buying something like this. And I bring this up just to say, we're right in the middle of it. Okay, we're right in the middle of the spring market where there is more inventory on the market, and we'll look at that in terms of the data. But there are a lot more buyers out there right now. There are buyers who've been hungry to buy a house all winter, and they are out there shopping. And so if you want to move on a house right now, currently, you've got to move fast. So continuing to go through here, 3 days on the market, 3, 3, 3, 12, 10, 9. This one's 126, but that's out in Foster, Kentucky, way out there. 20 days on the market. So I will say this, if you do see something that is active for 20 days or more, those are maybe the houses where you can get under list price a little bit. But most of these homes that are pending right now, they're pending in under a week. They're still pending, kind of that first weekend or in that first week. So we're seeing a lot of that. Let me switch this up and take a look at the active homes on the market now instead of the pending ones. All right, so there's 100 active homes in all of Northern Kentucky. Again, this is just in the price range, looking at 375 to 450. And now this is going to make sense. The ones that are still out there, you're going to see a bit of a scattering. Something like this, it's 3 days on the market. I'm guessing this is going to be pending by the time this weekend is over. But 95 days, 172 days. So the ones that aren't pending yet, they might be out there a little bit longer. Those might be ones, whether they're new construction, something like this. This is out in Burlington, it looks like. It's a new construction home. Let's see who built this one. This is Arlene House Builders in Hunters Ridge. Arlene House, by the way, I went and saw one of their homes recently in Burlington. I really like what they do. Now, they don't advertise a lot. So, if you're looking at new construction in the area, which is a good idea, I think, in this kind of market, because, if you're in that resale market, homes are going so fast, it can be hard to shop in that market. So if you're thinking of new construction, we do a lot of videos on Drees Homes. We do a lot of videos on Fischer Homes on the channel. We haven't talked too much about Arlene House, but I like their product. They just they're kind of like, they ride the wave, right? They kind of draft behind. They're not doing a whole lot of marketing, if any. They're mostly just word of mouth. They're going to have lots and properties in some of these neighborhoods that Drees and Fischer Homes are in. And just by being in that neighborhood, they're going to sell their homes. They might be a little bit priced slightly below, but their quality is really good. So here's out in Hunters Ridge in Burlington, Kentucky. Let's take a look at this one right here. This one looks like I'm going to say that's a Fischer home. Whoops. Right there. That is the Wesley Craftsman by Fischer Homes. That is out in, where is that one? Browning Trail. So that's also out in Hunters Ridge, I believe, in Burlington, Kentucky. So those are a few that are active out on the market right now. Let me go back to this. Fallen Tree one. Just take a look at what the Arlene House product looks like in case you're interested. Nice vaulted ceiling, open floor plan there. This is let me take a look at it. This is a 3-bedroom, 2 full bath, 1 half bath. It does have a basement. I don't know if it's finished. Let's take a look here. It's an unfinished basement. Love this covered deck out here in Hunters Ridge. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Looks like they do have a good size finished basement here. They also have a walkout. There's a basement window as well. There's a bathroom down in the basement. And then you've got all this section as well for unfinished space down in the basement. That's a home for $420,000. It's a really nice home by Arlene House Builders. Tankless water heater. I like these, especially if you have kids or like to take long showers. So there's a look for an Arlene House home. Going back here to this list, here's another one. That's a Fischer home, Covington. So I don't want to spend, if you guys want more info on this, let me know. We can spend more time here, but just going through this list, looking through days on market, and let's jump into the data itself on the Cincinnati side. We can pop back here to the Northern Kentucky side if we want, but I'm seeing the market correlate relatively the same on both sides of the river. That's typically what we see. In terms of how the market is fluctuating, it's going to be pretty much the same in Northern Kentucky as Cincinnati. So let me stop this screen and let's jump into the Cincinnati info here. All right, here we go. Okay. So you guys, if you've watched the channel before, maybe you've seen these kind of charts, but what I like to go through here is starting off with the median price sold. I'm going to pop this down here real quick. This is the median price sold for the last 2 years. We're looking at Claremont, Butler, Warren, and Hamilton County. And we're looking at April's data, which we just got in a little over a week ago. And what we're seeing is about exactly what I expected to see in 2025. I think when I made my kind of January predictions on what we'd see in 2025, this was it, that we would probably see home prices continue to go up, which is what we are seeing. We'd see a pretty regular seasonal market, which is what we're seeing again. Now, we had one little fluctuation here back in February where home prices really shot up from January. But if you kind of do this trend line from January, February, March, April, you see home prices on a steady upward trajectory. So where we're at right now in terms of April is that the median home price in Cincinnati, or at least in these top selling counties of Claremont, Butler, Warren, and Hamilton, is $304,000. Now, the peak, where we always see the peak kind of in June and July, May, June, and July. The peak from last year was $312,000. If you go back 2 years ago to April of 2023, the median price was $280,000. Right now we're at $304,000. So that's about an average change of about 5% each year. Okay. If you go back to 2024 in April, looks like it was a little over 280, closer to like 285. Here it's jumped up to 304. So we're seeing that growth again here in Cincinnati. Again, the median price is going up. Probably, actually, I know what we're experiencing right now in terms of buyers who are out there shopping in May. If you're going to be shopping in June into July as well, you're probably going to feel this exact same thing where home prices are going to continue to go up. There's more supply out there right now. That's that's kind of why there's more shoppers out. But with that more supply, there's more demand. And so we always, in a regular year here in the Cincinnati area, we see home prices go up. Here in April, they're going to go up in May, they're going to go up in June, and they're going to probably top off in July. If you look back here on this chart in 2024, that's where they hit their peak, was July of 2024. Back to 2023, it really peaked out in June. And the reason for that is most people are heading back into school by July, or they're wanting to, they're not wanting to shop quite as much then because they're wanting to get settled for the school year, which is going to happen early August, even late July, depending on the school district. So there we are. We're up to 304. Again, that's up over the last 2 years. We're looking at about a 5% change year over year from from the last 1 year back to 2023. So there we're at from the median sale price. I want to show this graph as well, which is a similar chart, but it is showing the average dollar per square foot of sold homes over the last 2 years. And again, if you can see this green line trending up here, it's about this, you see that steady growth. And that's what we're experiencing here in the Cincinnati market, is this steady growth rising up. We're going to continue to see that more than likely through May, through June, probably through July as well. So right now we're at $192 per square foot. And that is the peak. That is the highest we've seen in the last 2 years here in the Cincinnati area. So home prices continue to go up. Price per square foot continues to go up. It's not like other homes. We're not seeing a lot of inventory sit on the market like you're seeing in other areas around the country. We are still in that place here in Cincinnati where it's affordable. People want to come. People want to live here. And because of that demand, because days on market is still relatively low across the country, probably still one of the lowest cities across the country, we're seeing prices still go up. Not a ton. We'll probably see 5 to 6% appreciation at the year end, but we are still seeing home prices go up. So, I want to talk about that briefly, and we'll continue to look at this data. But what does that mean for you as a buyer? Feel free to jump in the chat if you're watching. I appreciate you guys hopping in here. But what does that mean if you're looking to buy here in 2025? What does it mean in terms of interest rates? I just shot a video with one of our premier top lenders that we use here, Matt Flieger from UMC Capital, talking about interest rates, talking about the uncertainty of interest rates and where they're going to go. Obviously we had the election, obviously we have tariffs, the market's been up and down, and it felt like the last few months there was some uncertainty in the market. Interest rates have not come down. In fact, they even went up a little bit. And so what does that mean? Well, I continue to say for buyers, I continue to tell buyers that timing the interest rates is always going to be really hard. Looking, however, at this historical data of home prices going up in Cincinnati is maybe a little bit more dependable. It's more dependable to look at these housing charts and home prices over the years than trying to predict when interest rates are going to be at, where they're going to be at. And so if you're waiting, and yes, interest rates may potentially go down in the future, but what is that going to do to the market as well? You might be able to get a lower rate on the home price, but how much does that home cost? If you wait till next year, for example, that $400,000 house, if it went up 5% appreciation, which is about what we're seeing, it went up 20 grand. And so you got to do the math. Is if the rate's going down to 6%, is it more from 6.5 or 6.75% rate on your monthly payment over 12 months? Is that more or less than that 20 grand that you're losing out on the appreciation from not buying this year? Does that make sense? So you gotta take into consideration what's happening on the appreciation front. Right now, what we're seeing is home prices continue to go up in the Cincinnati market. All right, let's get back into this and show a little bit more data here. So here's where we're at from an inventory, a supply and demand standpoint. Now, these red bars are the amount of houses for sale. And what we're seeing is there's actually more houses for sale than we saw last year, which is kind of great. There's more sellers who are kind of like, I would say in 2023 and 2022, when the rates went up, sellers were very hesitant to sell. But now that these rates have kind of become the new normal, I would say, the 4s and the 3s and even the 2%, those were people, I think more and more people are realizing those were abnormalities. And instead, what we're seeing is people are like, well, okay, I need to move. So we're seeing more houses on the market this year. Now, at the same time, what we see in every spring market, there's more houses for sale, but the trend line of the amount of houses sold kind of tracks with that. So you can see here in Cincinnati, these green bars are the amount of homes that have actually sold. Now, that's actually down 9% if you're looking at the last year, going back to May of 2024 to the previous year of 2023. So less homes have actually sold in the last year. And again, I think that goes back to affordability. I think that does go back to the interest rates because that is like pushed about at its max. And so, there are less homes sold overall, about 10% less, and there is more inventory on the market. So you are seeing a little bit of reprieve, I guess, if you're a buyer, where there's a little bit more options to choose from. But at the same time, people are still snatching them up. And it's not just people from locally here. It's buyers from other states who are moving to the Ohio area who are like, wow, if I'm going to compare a house in Ohio compared to Tennessee or Texas or Florida or California, New York, Washington State, Washington, D.C., North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, well, those homes in Ohio are still really affordable. And I like the lifestyle that I can get in Cincinnati. And so you're still seeing, that's why I think that's not the only reason. I think it's the majority is local buyers, but you're definitely seeing people like across the country still looking at cities in the Midwest, like Cincinnati, like Indianapolis, like Columbus, like Louisville, like Lexington, and say, hey, I can get a decent house there, have the lifestyle I want, maybe kind of put down roots, and then I can do adventures and explore from there because my cost of living is not so high. So what we're seeing here, again, this is really kind of what I thought would happen this year. You're seeing more inventory pick up in this spring season. If we're going to predict this, just go back 1 year and look at where the inventory is in April last year. It goes up a little bit in May, which is what we're experiencing right now. It's going to go up a little bit in June. And then July, August, September, inventory can kind of sit right there a little bit. And that's not a bad time if you're not having to get into a school district and get your kids into school. That's not a bad time of year to buy. It's kind of that late summer, early fall time to buy. And I would say if you're a seller, that can be a tough time. If you haven't gotten your home ready to sell for the spring market, and then you're waiting to sell it in July, August, September, you might be trying to push those home prices a little bit, but home prices start to come down a little bit towards the end of the summer into early fall. And so just know that if you're a seller, be careful about that. If you're a buyer, that's a decent time to buy really into the winter. As you see, if you go back and look at the home price chart, let me get that here. Try to get that here. Oh, hang on one second. If you go back to home charts, the home prices, excuse me, the median price chart, the cheapest prices are going to be, November, December, January. They were last year. Sorry, they were in 2023 and they were in 2024 as well. Actually, November, December, January. If you're buying in December, you're closing in January. Those are going to be your cheapest prices of the year. So, what's up, Brandon? How you doing? So, does this include new homes? Just curious if this has a small impact on this in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky market. Yeah, it's a great question. I would say actually it does kind of, the seasonality does ride basically the same for resale homes and new homes. The other thing I would say about new homes in particular, I just showed you on this chart where home prices kind of dip in December. I would say especially that's also true with new home builds. I think that's a great time of year to buy. Not just, especially if you're okay not building from contract to build, where you're choosing all the selections. But what happens a lot of times with builders towards the end of the year is you see more inventory on the market, their market homes or their spec homes that they've already built, and they kind of want to move that before the year ends. They want to get those off the books. So that oftentimes can be the best time to buy new construction, is at the end of the year, a home that's already built that maybe hasn't moved yet. Now, along with that, that might not be the top lot in the neighborhood. So, there's trade-offs there. If you're talking purely about price, that's the way to get the best price. But if you're building your dream home for new construction, then, then you're wanting to get into likely a neighborhood as it's first launching, so you can choose the lot. But it really does go back to supply and demand, both for resale homes and new construction homes. If a builder feels like, hey, this is a brand new neighborhood, we know there's going to be a lot of anticipation for this, there's great amenities, we've got great lots, then they're not going to be budging on the price much because they know that demand is there. People are going to come in, they'll pay more for those lots. If they're at the tail end of that neighborhood and you're at these lots that are like, don't have good views, or, they're smaller, or, maybe the yard drops off or something like that, that's when you can get a better deal on the house. But again, you're not getting the best lot. So it's supply and demand, whether it's new construction or resale homes. And definitely right now in the resale home market, where we're feeling is there is more inventory out on the market, but there's also more demand. And so that's why we're seeing those home prices go up on the resale market as well. So hope that answers your question, Brandon. I appreciate you you sending that in here. So let's keep talking. There's one other chart I want to show you guys here. So this is just going along with that supply and demand again. This is the month's supply of inventory. So going back to the previous chart, we're seeing there's more houses on the market, and it has been in March and April. That's what these red bars are right here. But at the same time that we're seeing more houses on the market, we're actually seeing the month's supply of inventory drop. And why is that? That goes back to how I started this video, which is where they're going pending really quick. Because there's more there, even though we're in an affordability crunch, there's buyers out there buying these houses and snatching them up quickly. So what we're seeing right now is we're at the lowest point of the year. And in fact, about the lowest point in 2 years of months supply of inventory. Again, what is month supply of inventory? This is if no new inventory came on the market, how many months would it take to sell everything? And in this case, we're at 1 month. It would take 1 month for the shelves to be completely emptied out in terms of housing inventory. And now just going back with this conversation, we're talking about where do you see the most inventory? Well, it's going to be in the winter, right? You see it kind of creep up here from July, August, September, October, November, December. And so December, you get the most supply of inventory. I take that back. The longest month supply of inventory is in December. It might be less houses on the market, but you also have less buyer demand. And that's why it can be a good time to buy, because you don't have as much competition, bidding up those houses or buying that inventory up right away. You've got a little bit more time to shop. Now, the downside to that, I always tell this to buyers, is like, look, it's cold, it's dark, it's not really fun shopping for houses when everything's brown and gray and there's no landscaping. It's hard to picture the home. But in terms of best bang for your buck, the fall and the winter months are probably the best value time to shop. It just depends on what you want. Right now, there's more inventory. So even though there might be more value in the fall and winter, there's not the best selection. Right now, there's the best selection. So if you're like, look, this is my biggest investment for a house. I want to get my dream house. I want to get the neighborhood I want, or the lot I want, or the floor plan I want, or whatever that is. And so now's the time to shop. And I'm willing to pay a little bit higher in price because this is my house. This is my biggest investment. And I totally get that as well. So just to each your own on there. Excuse me. The one thing I want to say here, the other thing is this blue line chart or line graph here is the average days on market. Now, this includes new construction homes. This includes those homes that have been out there for 30, 60, 90, 120 days and haven't sold at all. But you see, again, that hit its peak back in January. It was around close to 40 days on market. Then it came crashing down here in February to under 30, then under 25, and now we're just over 20. Looks like 21 days on market on average. And I would assume, again, going back to the previous year, you're at April, May, June. You can expect that to happen the next few months as well. Days on market to continue to come down, high demand out there shopping. So if you're a buyer, you got to know, you got to kind of gear up. This is the time of year where you got to throw some elbows when you're out there. You got to be a little bit aggressive if you're trying to shop for something that's just hitting the market. Now, there are other homes out there that have been sitting for a little bit. You don't have to be as aggressive, but just so you know, those have stains on the carpet and they stink a little bit. Okay. They have something wrong with them, and that's okay. You can, if you're willing to buy those homes, but that's why they're still on the market. Otherwise, everything is getting snatched up right now. Now, if you're a seller, I think one thing I want to say to sellers, if you're out there thinking about selling, is while homes are going pending, we're not seeing, you need to be careful on pricing. Okay. If you're a seller, we are going up in prices, but we're not going up anywhere near like we were in 2020, 2021, during the pandemic, where we were seeing 10 to 12% appreciation on the year. It's closer to that 5%. So it's going up steadily, but it's not going crazy high. And so if you overshoot it from a pricing standpoint on a seller, that can be a mistake, because then you get into the wrong spiral where you got to lower the price, and then buyers will also offer lower on the house because it's been out there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. So just be careful, sellers. It's not like it was 2, 3 years ago where, you could throw out anything out there on the market and people will snatch it up. Homes are still going pending quickly, but you've got to do a little bit more than you did a few years ago, if that makes sense. It's kind of a weird market in that way, because there is high demand. We are still seeing home prices go up. We are still seeing homes going pending. At the same time, you got to realize, affordability is just still crunching people, right? Still crunching people. So there's where we're at in the market. Wanted to give you guys that heads up. Now I'm going to hit, I'll hit a few articles here before we move on. Let me Let me stop this out. There's some local news I want to hit you guys with. But feel free to drop in more questions in the chat. Anything you want to know, buyers, sellers, about the real estate market, let me know. All right. Whoops. Oh, I guess I got to present this 1 second. So speaking of builders, I just saw this pop up. Actually, I didn't know about this, but Fischer Homes, which is the largest home builders, they're actually moving their headquarters down to Covington, Kentucky. So I'm seeing more and more and more businesses get located down in Covington, Kentucky. BNKY, the one NKY Center is going to be heading down there as well. So a lot of energy heading down to Covington, Kentucky. Fischer Home Group, which they're currently in Erlanger, I believe. Yeah, they're in Erlanger. They're going to be moving to Covington. It's an $11 million project. Expansion adds 30,000 square feet to accommodate 350 employees. The move is expected to boost downtown Covington's economy and businesses. So yeah, I would think so. 350 more Fischer Homes employees coming down to Covington. That's a huge shot in the arm for Covington businesses. So that's an interesting move. One thing that I think is cool about this, if you've bought a Fischer home, they do have that design center in Erlanger. The one thing that's really nice about it in Erlanger is it's really right next to the airport. So if you're buying a home and you're moving in here, you're at that design center literally within like 5 minutes from the airport. So that's really nice if you're just flying in to pick your selections on a new construction build. This will be a little bit further now. It'll probably be, 15, 20 minutes from the airport down in Covington. But they are building out a new design center for people to choose their finishes. They're also adding a cafe and gym. So that's pretty cool. Congrats to Fischer Homes for the move. And it says it'll be ready in 2027. So they're, a few years away from that, but pretty cool to see them, the largest home builder, moving down there. And it's going to be on Scott Street, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, 525 Scott Street. And I found that interesting because I've got a listing right now on Scott Street. I'll show you guys this. If you haven't seen this, it's on our channel. You can check it out. But this is a super cool 3-bedroom condo in Scott Street, right in the heart of Covington. Again, you are right. Like the Roebling is right around the corner here. You've got the Ascent. You've got all these restaurants and bars right here. You've got Molly Malone's and Smoke Justice right here. I mean, so this is the building, and my sellers, they've got their own private rooftop on the back side here, which is awesome. So you've got these views of the city of Covington here. Here, let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see this. Beautiful views. And then for the condo itself, high-end finishes, tons of storage in this custom banquette. You've got custom built-ins in the living room here, and I love this kitchen here. Quartz countertops, waterfall. You've got high-end appliances, gas stove, and this is a 3-bedroom condo, which is very rare to get down in Covington. So I'm, my sellers are a family down here, and to get 3 bedrooms down here is awesome. So that you may have a family, you may not have a family, but you may want to have guests or have a home office. This is a great spot for that. So we're getting some interest. In fact, we might be getting an offer tonight or tomorrow on that. So if you are interested in this at all, let us know very quickly because I don't think this one is going to last very long. Very cool spot. Oh, the other thing about this one. So here it is. This is the old IRS building. And here's the spot right here. And it's also got its own private parking down here, which is very cool. So awesome location. I mean, you can walk to Paycor. You can see Paycor Stadium right here. You can walk to Great American Ballpark, walk to the banks very, very easily because the Roebling Bridge is right here behind the Covington Ascent building. So lots going on. And Fischer Homes is going to be down here, just a block or two up coming soon. So there's a Roebling right there. So just a really, really fantastic location for this condo. If you are interested in that at all, let me know. Leave a message in the chat or hit me up in our DMs or email us or whatever, because you're going to have to move fast on that one. Really cool spot. Okay. Speaking of new construction again, let's hit this up. There is these condos, which I've been watching for a while now, moving over from Covington to Newport. The condos open at the Boardwalk Residence in a $1 billion Ovation development. So go through this, and These are mostly sold out, but I want to show you guys this because I think this is also a very, very cool development that's happening right there on the riverfront. The first residents have moved into Ovation's riverfront condominiums, marking a significant milestone for the 25-acre, $1 billion Newport development. Covington-based Corporex, the master developer behind Ovation, offered a first look inside the Boardwalk residences condominiums, housed in 3 buildings closest to the riverfront during a media event April 30th. Corporex also unveiled 2 new bars at the development. 2 of the 3 5-story Boardwalk residences buildings are complete, with interior work ongoing in certain units. The third topped out earlier this year. The buildings feature a total of 88 condominiums, with prices starting at $995,000 and escalating to $2.5 million. As of this writing, around 80% of the condos are already sold, according to a Corporex spokesperson. So only 20% left remain. What is that? My Boone County math, 16, what about 18 or so condos left? So here's a little look, and we might go look at what these look like here. I'll show you guys, get a feel for what's listed down there. Residents began moving into one of the 2 completed buildings in April. Move-ins will commence soon on the other completed building. Just 1 unit remains available in each of the 2 completed buildings. The third building, which remains under construction, is nearly 47% pre-sold. It will be complete by the end of 2025. The Boardwalk residences feature ground floor retail space spilling out into the completed boardwalk, which offers direct riverfront access. The developer is currently negotiating with multiple prospective tenants. The Boardwalk residences and the recently opened Homewood Suites by Hilton Newport Cincinnati comprise the third phase of Ovation's build-out. The first phase began in 2019 with the construction of a 550-car parking garage, the Ovation Parking Garage, Pavilion Car Park, and concert venue, which is the Mega Core Pavilion, which you've never been there. It's a lot of fun, which saw more than 300,000 attendees in 2023. The second phase involved construction of a 100,000 square foot office building with tenants, including Megacore Logistics and St. Elizabeth Healthcare. That building is 60% leased. A fourth phase is expected to bring 2 taller multifamily apartment buildings totaling 306 units behind the southeast of the Boardwalk residences. Corporex spokesperson had no update on the development timeline of those buildings. So if you guys have never seen the Core Pavilion, this is a great place to watch a show if you haven't been there. Well, this is who is coming. Insane Clown Palsy. There you go. Houndmouth. I'm getting old. I don't know many of these bands. Weird Al, yeah. Oh, the Avett Brothers. I was very interested in going to see them. In fact, I might still get tickets for that one. That would be a lot of fun to go to. The other guy who came that I really like is Connor Price. He might be done already. But let me show you kind of some photos of what this place looks like here. This is a great outdoor venue. You got views of downtown Cincinnati. That's a great picture. You can watch a show and look across at the skyline of Cincinnati at the same time. So the Ovation, these condos are right down here. You got this venue right here to watch concerts. This is just a killer view, right? You get both the concert and the skyline. So this is super cool right down there in Newport. Let me see if I can find any of those condos that are still for sale here. So let's go. Give me 1 second. Price. We'll do 900 to 2 million. And take that off. So you're going to be right down here in Newport. Here they are. This one's 1.5. Let's take a look at this. So here's the Ovation, All these have views of the skyline. There's your view of the river and the skyline, which is very cool. Obviously, walkability, Great American Ballpark is amazing. Then you have this boardwalk, and all these tenant spaces are going to be filled up, with restaurant and bars. You're right by Newport on the Levee as well. So you've already got tenants there. This boardwalk is great. It's going to be such a nice area to live. So here's a little of what these condos look like. And these, like I said, these are 80% sold already. So very similar, I think, kind of to the Ascent. You can see the Ascent building down here in Covington. And this is a little bit kind of Newport's version. Maybe not the same architecture of that the curved arch there, but amazing views, walkability. These are going to be very popular, I know, for years to come. They're already 80% sold out. So if you're interested in something like this as well, and you want to be right there in the heart of it all, you want to have walkability to downtown Cincinnati in the ball games. Maybe you're downsizing, and you've already had you've raised your kids, they've moved out, and you want some more of the urban kind of lifestyle. Ovation might be the spot for you. So we'd love to, love to give you a private tour of these. I don't know why. What are these photos about? Come on, Ovation, Corporex. I can help you out. If you're watching this, let me know, and we can list these for you and do a lot better on your photos. But do like that tile. That's really nice. Love the gold trim there. Yeah. So that's what those look like. All right. Wanted to bring that up in terms of the Ovation. Let's go back to here. Here's a little bit better photo, right? So you can see 1, 2, looks like the third building here being built. Here's a big parking garage, kind of over this way is where Megacore is at. And you can see skyline back here. So these are selling out. They're almost done. Actually, I wonder if these are the multifamily right here. That might be it. Units that are going up. But if you are interested in that, would love to help you out, give you a private tour there of Ovation. That's something I think that will be very, very cool properties for many years to come here in the Cincinnati area, right at the edge of the Licking River. A lot to do here in Newport, and walkability to downtown Cincinnati. So I think those are going to be very sought after for years to come. Okay. Just a few more headlines I want to hit, and then we'll bounce out of here for the night, and I will go watch my son play his flag football game. So, all right, here we go. The key. So next headline I want to hit here is the key number in a potential broader Bengals-County lease deal, and that number is 1/3. So I did read a previous headline about this, but wanted to get into this. While Hamilton County and Cincinnati Bengals have agreed to a deal to get a portion of an $830 million renovation of Paycor Stadium moving, the major question remains, what will the overall deal look like and how much will each side pay? On Tuesday, a majority of the 3-member commission indicated for the first time that it wants to see the total amount split, with the county picking up 1/3, while the team, the NFL, and the state of Ohio splitting the rest. So there's the ask from the county. They say, hey, this is what we want. We'll do 1/3. We want you to do 1/3. We want the state to do 1/3. Now, whether or not that'll happen, that's what we have to find out. But at least the county is saying this is what we would like to see going forward in this deal. So we shall see. What do you guys think is going to happen here? County commissioners long have said they expected the state, the team, and the NFL to help fund capital improvements. Those funding sources were outlined in a framework for negotiations sent to the team and reported on by the Business Courier in January when they leaked some juicy emails. That was pretty fun to watch. But April 11th, Commissioner Denise Driehaus put a specific percentage on the county's share, which was 1/3. On April 29th, her colleague, Commissioner Stephanie Dumas, told reporters she was on board with that as well. That makes sense to me, and that's why I came up with it for this. Now, I don't know where they actually came up with this number or why it makes sense, but they came up with 1/3. They didn't really kind of quote anything on that. They're just saying, we want to do 1/3. That's all we want to do. And knowing the Bengals in terms of negotiators, I don't know if it'll end up there for the county. If you really wanted to get a better deal, I might have leveraged and positioned a little bit less than that, because I think this 1/3 is going to get pushed on. by the Bengals, but we shall see. I mean, there's a lot of angry taxpayers out there who are still upset with the last deal, who are still angry now. So, and I don't blame them one bit. So this is going to be, I think, like I said, I don't know if this is going to be very clean or going to happen this summer. I still think this gets extended further on and pushed out further on, but curious what you guys think. I think if I were to bet on this, I think when the Bengals would want to strike is not after 2 years of missing the playoffs. I think where they want to negotiate on this is after Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins take us deep into the playoffs, if not winning the AFC Championship and that first coveted Super Bowl here in Cincinnati. That's just my take on when the Bengals would want to negotiate for the stadium. If the county gets its way, that would put local taxpayers' share at roughly $277 million, far less of a share than it paid to open when it was called Paul Brown Stadium in 2000. When the current stadium was constructed in the late 90s for $455 million, not including interest, Hamilton County's Republican Control Commission agreed to pay $373 million of the $455. That is a lot. Ohio's Cultural Facilities Commission contributed $50 million, and the team paid $32 million. I mean, that was a fleecing. That really was, according to the Business Courier. That's 82% the county contributed. So I don't, going from 82% to 33%, that would be a huge win. Not going to lie. But yeah, they paid so much back in the 90s. Commissioners argue that when the stadium operating costs, which the county pays almost entirely all of, are factored in, taxpayers have picked up 94% of the stadium tab over the past 3 decades, a situation all three agree must change. Well, that's good. They all agree, but Hamilton County taxpayers, man, that is rough. Yeah, you've picked up roughly, if you count the operation cost, 94% of the stadium tab. I mean, look, we've had some good times there. We've had some bad times there. We've had a lot of bad times there, but we've had some good times there, right? Playoff P, even though everyone wants the Bengals to drop Jermaine Pratt right now, was there anything better than Playoff P making that interception, getting the first playoff win in over 30 years? That was a good moment, right? Those were good times. We want some more of those times. Commissioner Alicia Reese declined to say whether she agrees with her 2 Democratic colleagues, but Reese did outline other provisions she wants to see, including the team covering the stadium's operating costs. I think that makes sense. I don't want to necessarily go through percentages yet because I was looking for a larger contribution from the NFL, and that did not happen today, said Reese, who argued the team and the NFL should pick up the entire $185 million first phase costs with potential county reimbursement for a share later if the sides come up with a long-term brand new lease. I think the most important thing is that we've got to get the maintenance off the backs of the taxpayers, she said. We've got an old stadium, and that could really drive up costs in the future. You don't want an old car with no warranty. I've heard her say that before in another interview. It's not a bad metaphor, You don't want an old car with no warranty, and that's kind of what Paycor Stadium is. You want to make sure someone else is picking up that tab if you see some bigger expenses coming along down the pike. The Bengals did not respond to a request for comment on the commissioner's comments this week. So we'll see. We'll see what continues to happen there. Actually, I'm going to keep going on here. Reese and Dumas voted in 2024 to give property owners a full rebate for the first time since 2022. Before that, county property owners last received it in 2017 and 2012. I mean, I think that's great. They're trying to get Hamilton County residents have seen a lot of residents. We're seeing because of all this appreciation that's happened over the past several years, property taxes are way up there. So to try to help the taxpayer less of the burden, I'm all for that. NFL, I think you can hike up more money. I'm all for that as well. I know you guys have the money. It has to be a financial model that takes the risk and the upfront finance off the backs of the taxpayers. I want a taxpayer-friendly deal. Asked about Reese's preference to offload the operating costs, Driehaus reiterated a position all 3 commissioners have taken, which is that the stadium-derived revenue should offset operating costs. Dumas did not respond to a message seeking, but the 1/3 formula depends on the state of Ohio coming up with funding by its June 30th budget deadline. There's yet to be consensus among state lawmakers in Columbus. Governor Mike DeWine wants legislators to increase the state's sports gambling tax and use the proceeds for new stadiums, stadium upgrades, and youth sports. The House passed legislation that would help fund $600 million in bonds for the new $3.4 billion Cleveland Browns Stadium and surrounding mixed-use development in suburban Brook Park. The Senate budget is still pending. Cuyahoga County, which opposes the Brook Park Stadium, maybe like Hamilton County, and wants to, along with the city of Cleveland, see the Browns downtown stadium renovated, has asked for $350 million from the state. So I think that's interesting. And maybe where this number is getting a little closer is, they're asking for a $350 million renovation. That makes more sense to about what the county is asking the state for here in Cincinnati as well. Driehaus said the county continues to meet with state lawmakers on $350 million request. The county is touting that the overall bank's development kicks in $40 million in state revenue annually. So we will see what happens. The parties have a June 30th deadline to come up with new lease deal, or the Bengals can unilaterally exercise the first of 5 2-year extensions allowed by the current lease. The team and the county are working to finish a longer-term deal by the June 30th deadline. All right, it is May 11th, 2025. I'm going to go on record and say this deal does not get worked out by this June 30th deadline, and it gets extended to the first of the 5 2-year extensions allowed by the current lease. Why? The Bengals missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Bengals don't want to be negotiating when you got unhappy fans, right? We got to win the playoffs and then happy fans, and then maybe they'll come back to the county and negotiate. So we'll see what happens there. But what do you guys think? Would love for you to say, leave a comment. All right. Just one or two other headlines here. Curious what you guys thought about this. We had the mayoral primary here in Cincinnati. The headline here by the Business Courier is a little bit funny, but it's true. Mayor Aftab Puraval wallops Republicans as Cincinnati narrows the mayoral field to 2. So basically what happened was the mayor won 82.5% of the vote. Corey Bowman, I think, took in about 13%, and Brian Frank took in 5%. So you can assume that would be consolidated in a fall election, but still, you're talking what, 82% to 18%. The other thing that was really interesting to me is voter turnout was 10%. So I'm just curious, did you guys get out and vote for this primary? Only 10% of the city did. Did you even care? Did you even know that it was happening? And when it comes to the fall election, Corey Bowman, who is the half brother of our vice president, JD Vance, does that matter to you at all? I'm very curious what the residents of Cincinnati think. At least from this standpoint, they would say they don't care. They don't care that Corey Bowman is JD Vance's, or maybe they do care, and maybe that's why the way they voted the way they did. But only 10% came out in the primary, and I just found that really, I don't know, interesting, odd, whatever that is. Curious your guys' thoughts on that. If you got out there and voted, if you even cared, if you care about the mayor, the mayor race at all. But that is what happened. Thought I'd share that news. That is what is going on in our fair city. So, okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Here's one other fun thing. If you guys want to check this out, there's a $2.27 million house in Sims Township with an indoor sports court. It hit the market. So, only see that one photo there. Let's see if there's a slideshow down here. I want to see what the sports court looks like. It's not here. Nothing. Well, I'm not going to jump into the MLS just for that. But if you want to check that out, Sims Township, pretty home. We like that lake out front. So I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight, guys. To summarize again, homes are going pending quickly. Home prices are still going up. I expect them to do the same in May, in June, and probably top off in July. But that's where we're at in the market. It's still, in terms of affordability, it's tough. But people are finding a way somehow to get those homes under contract because they're still going pending fast. So hope you guys have a fantastic evening and a great rest of your Mother's Day. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in to Team Sztanyo Live. Reach out to us directly if you have any needs, any real estate needs, whether you're buying or selling in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area, whether that's a resale home, whether that's a new construction home. We can connect you with our builders and help negotiate and help you along that build process as well. We do a lot of new construction here, helping folks on that space. Whether you're looking to sell a home or whether you're an investor, reach out to us, guys. We would love to help. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.